Hey there, what is up, guys? Real Diversity here. We are back with another discussion video, and this time we are going for a big one here, and that is the reality of Michael Jordan versus LeBron James GOAT debate. So really, we're here to kind of break the walls down and kind of really show all the sides of what's really going on here with this debate, and really just kind of break down and see some flaws in people's ideals, and it's just a lot we're gonna pretty much cover. So I don't even have it generally summarized, but just know we're gonna get into the stuff and really break it down. So first and foremost, let us talk about Michael Jordan himself. Airness, right? So the biggest thing here, Michael Jordan has really done it all, right? If there's an award, accolade, something, he has it, and probably two, three of them, right? Defensive player, all-star, MVP, whatever it is, he has it, multiple of them, and it is no debate that he has, accomplished a lot, right? If he's not in your top two or three, then you probably don't know basketball. So not really much here to discuss about him on the court side. A compliment. Well, I don't know why that word's so hard to say today, but anyways, it's not really much to talk about on his side of winning. We know he does that. He's done it well, and it's not really much to debate about that, right? But here is what I want to get into about Jordan, right? So a lot of people, and what I feel like when it comes to this GOAT debate, Michael Jordan versus LeBron, it is if you're a Jordan sider, right? If you think about Jordan, the biggest thing I feel like with people in their opinion of Jordan, things like that, is it's bias. It is insanely biased, and let me break it down why. Because in the 90s, Jordan was on everything, commercials. He owned about everything. He was on TV almost 24/7. You seen the guy probably like every day. Just like in modern times how LeBron is now. You pretty much see LeBron everywhere today too. At the same time, but back in the day, Michael Jordan was on everything. He was on underwear. He had his own shoe. His shoe is probably the biggest sneaker shoe in the history of sneakers. So obviously people are still rocking his kicks. And people it was just everything. Everyone wanted to be like Mike Space Jam, right? He was just thrown in your face everywhere, shown to be this glorified great player, right? And it didn't matter. He could do no wrong, right? And that's another thing too. Like when we say he couldn't do no wrong, a lot of things he said. If somebody like LeBron, who is still arguably proving his case, he basically in a sense would get criticized for a lot of things that someone like Michael Jordan wouldn't have back in the day because of how glorified he was. So it's a big bias when you come of him, especially if you were born in the 90s or just grew up watching Michael Jordan or things like that. And you just witness Michael Jordan all the time as this glorified player. So it's really hard to just not have a simple bias when it comes to him, right? As a player, you just assume you think of winning, you think of basketball, you think of Michael Jordan most likely. So um, it is no surprise there on why he is obviously in everyone's favorite, everyone's top, one, two, So it's no surprise there on Michael Jordan's part. We know that we're not even gonna. And by the way, I meant to say this earlier in the video. We're not really gonna break down any stats or anything like that here. We're just gonna pretty much break down the reality aspects of it. So that's another thing. I just wanted to point with Michael. I think really Michael, it really isn't much to cover with him, right? Because like I said, it's his his numbers and stats show it for him. So I mean, we just know what Michael's done. We know he's accomplished, and we've seen the championships. We know it, right? He has really nothing. He proved himself. Nothing else left, obviously, to prove, and he's just Michael Jordan. As we all know him, right? So, but that's all I want to say with that about him. I feel like he is super glorified. So it's really hard to have a honest opinion of anybody else besides Michael Jordan because of just how great, and just how the way the media showed him, right? So when we get into LeBron, right? LeBron since day one, coming out of high school, was pretty much seen as the next big thing, right? So everyone was already, oh no one's gonna, outdo Jordan, or no one's gonna, So it was already a lot of criticism for him, right? So it's a lot of, it's always been the media out to kind of get him, since he first got into the league, right? Michael Jordan never had that. There was great players, but Michael Jordan was never seen to be, the GOAT when he came in. No one ever predicted that. So it wasn't no real hate around him until never, right? So he just never had no criticism media watching him, trying to, get him at every turn, right? So that is another just straight up thing you may have known about LeBron, is just the simple fact that he is criticized like 24/7. So a lot of people may not have, depending on who they're listening to, watching, what medias they're watching or seeing, they may not have a honest opinion about LeBron because they're just getting their opinions off of somebody else, right? They've heard this, heard that, right? And when it comes to, if you're getting your opinions straight from media, Jordan's always gonna, has always been glorified. LeBron is kind of both. He gets glorified sometimes, criticized others, right? So that for Michael Jordan, he is strictly glorified anytime you pretty much talk about the guy. LeBron, on the other hand, since he's still a current player, and he is imperfect, he gets, like I said, a platoon of criticism, right? So when it comes to LeBron, right, what people fail to realize is, and a thing that people mention a lot of times is championships, right? LeBron doesn't, he hasn't won as many as these other guys and things like that. But we already know this, right? If you're going off that statement, then who's really to go, right? The 60 players, Bill Russell, Kareem, those guys like that. Those guys have way more championships than anybody else. So it's no, you can't really use rings as a really comparison to me, especially when you're comparing eras, right? Maybe if we're comparing two guys that played against each other at the same time, and who was winning more, then yeah, you can compare them, because it was obviously the results. They were in the same league, same era, same time, and they obviously were both getting different results. So it really shows there, like, you can compare obviously Magic Johnson and Larry Bird easy compare them, but it's really hard and tricky to compare things like championships when you didn't play in the same era, right? Especially when you look at, if you think about it, the 2000s and the, and by the way, guys, I am literally biased. I'm not biased to any of these guys. I think both of them, honestly, to me, Mark Jordan and LeBron are both number one. They're both the GOATs. Like, if there was a category, I would put them, split it in half and put both of their names in the number one spot. But anyways, when it comes to um LeBron, right, and it comes to winning, we really can't use that comparison, because if you think about the 2000s, that's what I was getting at. Who has more? If you think about the name, you can probably name 20, 30 more superstars, all stars in the 2000s rather than you could in the 90s. And you can probably name about 30 more in the 2010s rather than you can like the 90s, right? Because it's just the amount of stars, power, the amount of superstars. It constantly builds and grows, right? So it almost, you can almost say everyone has a super team at this point, because there's just that many stars in the league, right? So everyone has like a all-star in a sense on their team, and so many snubs. Back in the day, there wasn't really any snubs for the all-star game, because mostly everyone could fit into those games. Now, not so much. So many talent that it is really hard to even put the best players all in the all-star game, right? They might as well need to start having like a second all-star game, a second string all-star team or something like that. But when it comes to that, it's hard to debate, right? So LeBron's always didn't have to go against it's just a whole different era of players. And by the time LeBron got in the league, there was definitely a bunch of teams established, like the Spurs, early on, Boston, Spurs, Pistons, just a bunch of super solid teams back in those days. Even though we believe words. So I mean, in those early 2000, late mid, just 2000s in general, they had a solid amount of teams, all stars around them, things like that. Lakers, I don't know if I said their early Lakers. So moving on in the 2010s, right? There still were even more talent. OKC, Warriors, obviously. Spurs were still dominant. Even the Mavericks had a little squad. Boston still had a team, and just plenty more were all like super solid throughout LeBron's career. So it's always been competition, right? Rather than, I believe in Michael's era, it was competition, but he was probably on the best team in that time. So it was pretty much, I don't really feel like it's hard to win. Not to say take away from him winning or anything, but you just really, to me, can't compare that in the different eras, right? So it's just not really fair to use that as an argument, right? It's on LeBron's behalf, right? And then also not even going through numbers, right? If we look at numbers, we know who had the better stats all around. It has been LeBron, but we're not like gonna look into numbers because obviously when you start throwing numbers around, then people start throwing championships around, things like that. But it's not about that to me, right? It's about your impact in the game of basketball, right? When you look at a player like LeBron, you see dominance, you see a player that can elevate his team, and then when you look at a player like Jordan, you see almost the same thing. Dominant player, elevates his team in a different way, but also still does it, gets the job done, right? So in all reality, they've really both done the same things. They both won in their own respective, to me, situations, right? So I think Jordan did pretty much what he was supposed to do, and then LeBron really accomplished something that was really hard, kind of had to earn for. And then there's the super team debate, right? There's this debate that LeBron joined the super team. But when you look at teams all time, right? Have you ever? I'm gonna put them up now. Okay, so here are some teams that these guys, and you guys pause it if you must at any given time, to just kind of look at them. These are some teams that some at ESPN, people, they made these teams of their all time greatest NBA teams of all time, right? So these teams, on a few of them, you see just a few of them, that there are maybe the Miami Heat on them. I think it was only two of them out of, like, I don't know how many, like five or six of them, but on each one, almost every one, the first or second one was the Bulls, right? The first or second one were the Bulls team, right? So we see there that LeBron was on. I mean, Michael Jordan was always on a better team, or has always been on a better team, because his teams have always been on the top, whatever, of greatest teams of all time. So that right there just shows you, that you really can't compare championships, things like that, because Michael Jordan has always been on a team full of Hall of Famers, All Stars, things like that. Whereas LeBron was for a very short period of time, and when he was on a team that was capable of winning, he did what? Win, right? So it does show that it wasn't just simply Michael Jordan was just a better player, so he just won more. It was just different circumstances, so you really can't, like I said, compare those. And make sure you guys, if you need to, go back, pause it, look at those lists over real fast or whatever. But yeah. So, and then another point I wanted to point at too was, notice who else was always in the number one, if not number two spot? The Warriors, right? The Golden State Warriors, the team that LeBron had to go against four, was it five times in the finals, right? So that team right there just shows you that not only was LeBron had better competition, or more super teams he had to go against, he actually went against another team that is actually almost considered the greatest team of all time in some people's list. That, I mean, so it just shows you that he even had it, some really stiff competitions. Like I said, this is all just to prove out the point that you really just cannot really use winning as a thing, right? It just was totally different circumstances, right? And another thing on LeBron, like I said, is that he is pretty much has always been dual criticized by the media, right? So it's been kind of on and off. And so anytime he makes a mistake or whatever, they bring up his finals record. Anytime someone's saying LeBron's the GOAT or anything like that, his finals record comes up, right? Losing to the Mavericks, I think, comes up. Getting shut down and quote unquote comes up. Joining a super team, we covered that already though. And then I think needing It's a few others that may come to me, but right, but all of these are normally just kind of seems the media kind of throws out there, and then people get their hands on it. Well, yeah, that makes sense or whatever. So you kind of have to throw out your own bias, right? And you just kind of have to just watch these guys play. You just really have to go really sit down and watch footage of both of these guys and just really kind of in your own opinion, like man, you just won't be really, in my opinion, you won't be able to come up to a decision, honestly. If you really just see, if you look past the stats, right? If you look past the media, you just look for yourself at play style. It's just no way you cannot look at LeBron, see LeBron play, and just not think, man, this guy is one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest, right? And another reason I made this video was because he's been in, there's a lot like this Last Dance. Ever since that came out, it's been a bunch of debates just popping up randomly about Michael Jordan and LeBron, right? So this is another prime reason why I decided to make this video, but also the fact that um that people, I saw a list, right, and it showed Michael Jordan 1, LeBron 2, perfectly fine, right? On anyone's list, anyone's list is perfectly fine to have Michael Jordan first or LeBron first. To me, it don't matter. They're both perfectly fine. But long as they are in your top three, you're good. But I was seeing people say LeBron wasn't even top three, and that right there was really what made me, okay, people are really have lost it because, like, once again, it's so much criticism from the media that they don't even realize what is in front of them until he's done in the league. So you have to really just look for yourself. You can't open your ears to the media. You just gotta go look or just watch. Just sit down, watch some LeBron footage, and you like, this guy truly was something special. And it's so many legendary performances he's had. So it just shows you that he's never really choked in the finals. This guy was like a walking 40-point triple double in the playoffs most of the time when he wanted to. For example, go to that game in like was it 2007 Pistons game 5, where LeBron, and I said I wasn't even gonna bring up stats for stuff like this, but LeBron dropped, like, he had like 29 of the last 30 points, and he had the last 25 points, and he carried that single squad. So it just shows you that LeBron is capable of winning, even if he has to do it by himself. And then also go to that game 6 of 2012 against the the Boston 2012 Miami Heat against Boston. LeBron, as we all know it, you might even know it. Remember, you guys might remember that face he made where I think he said, I think it's a lot of comments called considered, I think bad guy. They call him, consider him the bad guy, or him playing the villain or something like that. I think it's how people kind of label that one. And that right there is another reason I feel like he gets hate too. But when he wants to win, he will himself to win. And that man scored like 40 some points on like 70 some percentage, did not miss a single shot. And if you go watch that game, he was taking the most ridiculous tough shots you could imagine, right? And he was just knocking them each down. So we have legendary footage of LeBron. It's not like he has not done anything for people to just kind of just belittle him as much as they do. The only reason I see is, like I said, besides the media already explained, but just simply because people may have not witnessed it themselves. They may have just like I said, only gone for media, things like that. So it's so much that you are missing out on if you do not actually just sit down and watch both of these guys play, and you will realize that they both unguardable, right? Both of them just elevate their team. Both of them are just above the rest of the pack. So it's just so much going on with that. But I think now I should kind of generalize this now. So basically, is there really even a way to have a GOAT, right? Is there really a way? And I really don't think there is a way without giving everyone at least their credit due. You can say there's a GOAT for maybe every era, every decade or so. So say you want to say the 2010s, right? You can go ahead and say LeBron. He won 3 championships in that era, dominated the whole time. You want to go in the 2000s, you can go with maybe Kobe, Shaq, maybe even it's so many in the 2000s you could go with, but it was a lot of winning, even Tim Duncan potentially, but yeah, so you could pick a GOAT for the 2000s. I think most people would probably go with Kobe, and then the 90s, obviously Jordan. 80s, I would say Magic slash Larry Bird. I wouldn't even, that's another tie right there to me. I don't even see how people can pick Magic over Larry, or the vice versa. I feel like those two should automatically just be in the same spot, no matter what. You put one on your list, the other one is in the same spot to me. You want to go 70s, Kareem. If you want to go the 60s, Bill Russell or Wilt. Probably Wilt, but like I said, there are GOATs in each era, and it's really hard to kind of compare them because, like I said, so much difference, right? So you really can't, to me, have a GOAT, or at least if you have a GOAT, you gotta at least pick multiple. You can't just have one all time, right? It's no reason you can't have LeBron and Jordan. But always remember this, man. If their two are not in your top three, something's probably wrong, and you need to go back and check the footage. But also, guys, you don't have biases, right? So some people will put Kobe Bryant in like the top three, right? Now there is nothing wrong with that, but when people use their bias to completely discredit another player, they will immediately scratch out other players just because they are super favorite to a player they love. So, and that's when that's when you kind of have to look at the stats and things like that. But other than that, yeah, you just don't want to be biased as far as just because they're your favorite player or something like that. It shouldn't um instantly, belittle another player, things like that. So that's just another thing I feel. So my opinion to everyone is, like who you want to like, but do not throw around um things to belittle other players just to get your point across of your favorite player, things like that. Both players can be multiple great players, and does not have to be a definite one all. And even if there is one all, it doesn't mean that you have to just blatantly um criticize another player or anything like that. Just be like, I feel like this guy's better. It doesn't take all that much to get your point across, and I feel like there's too much heated debate around this topic, and there can be multiple GOATs, guys. So just know that, keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I tried to give my best opinion here. Like I said, I didn't say this already, but this video was not scripted or anything. So I just pretty much went with what I felt like I had to say. So a lot of times I didn't cover everything I wanted to. So potentially if you drop a comment or anything like that, talking about something I missed or something, I will reply to you and let you know what I think. With diversity, we're out. Peace.